Greetings, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Craft Hammer. I'm your host, Stefan, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing two things: the up-and-coming boarding patrol, Agents of the Imperium, and we're going to be discussing the faction as a whole combined with the forces of the Inquisition. So when Arcs of Omen came out, I actually had pretty much the same idea, and I wanted to buy myself two Navis Imperialis box sets. And of course I got the Striders and the Assassin, so I already have these models at the moment, and I thought I'd give my own opinion on whether you should buy this boarding patrol, and just the kind of general gist of how I think that maybe in the future we could get a codex for Agents of the Imperium / Force of the Inquisition, since if we really think about it, rules wise, it wouldn't be that difficult to kind of give the ability to coalesce a few units from different factions into an army that would fall under these categories. And to be honest, we do have quite a few models that you could easily conscript into this codex. What I'll do is I'll get into the details of how I foresee this in the rest of the video, but for now let's just talk about the boarding patrol itself. Would I recommend getting this from me making the models myself? And I'm currently in the process of painting them. 100% I would recommend getting one box, but no more. And you kind of have two reasons why you shouldn't really buy two more of these. The first reason would be the Assassin. Obviously it's a great model, but it is pretty monopose, and it would be very difficult to try and get a different pose of it, so I don't really see any reason why you'd want a second one of those. And if you're thinking, oh well, maybe I could probably sell it on the secondhand market, unfortunately the secondhand market is pretty flooded with Assassin models, so actually being able to sell it would also be very difficult since there's so many out there. Now, the second reason that you wouldn't want a second box is the 10 Elucidian Star Striders. For those who don't know, this was an expansion from Black Fortress. So all the models are monopose, so what you see is what you get. And if you're thinking about maybe kit bashing them a bit around, it's going to be very difficult. I would not recommend for someone who's only beginning to kit bash or isn't quite confident in a lot of their skills. The Star Striders in general are a very thematic force and do look absolutely gorgeous. So they bring a lot of flavor to the force itself. It's great that you have a rogue trader and her little retinue. But as I already said, they're not easy to convert, and it makes no sense to buy a second boarding patrol when, that it's going to be 11 units that you can't really do much with, and you're going to start thinking about selling them. And of course there's going to be a lot of other people who might not want those specific models, and if they bought two, again, the market is just going to be flooded with them, so you're really just going to be stuck with them unless someone might want just those models themselves. Now, I do want to reiterate and say that these models aren't a negative. It's just a negative if you plan to get two of the same box. Now, if you're just getting one, they are brilliant and you're going to absolutely love them. So don't be kind of dissuaded that I'm saying that they're not good in terms of getting a second box. Now, the real upside of this whole box is the 20 Imperial Navy Preachers. That is an absolutely brilliant kit. You will have pretty much, roughly, I would say, 18 different poses that you could make, just because each of the ones that are unique, so the ones with the axe, the chain glove, the guy that has the extra padding because he's the one who's throwing the melta bombs, all of those have alternative poses that they're all wielding their shotguns. So you have such a great variety to make 20 different guys if you really wanted to. They're much easier when it comes to kit bashing because all of them have a little slot underneath their shoulders where the arms go in, so you can easily put other arms in there from the rest of the box so that you don't have to worry about making it look slightly off, because a bit of plastic glue, put them underneath those shoulder pads and it's a seamless attachment. The variety of poses for the Imperial Navy Breachers is great, so I would highly recommend it. If you're looking for, well, when I made this, I was thinking of a kind of a rogue trader style boarding patrol for the Arcs of Omen. So if you're looking to create something on the same lines, or if you're looking to create your own Inquisitor force, because at the end of the day, the rogue trader, you could easily just say that it is an Inquisitor. Yes, the rules obviously say it's a rogue trader, but you can, narratively say that they're an Inquisitor instead. But what I'm thinking is, if you want to start your own force, The next step from this, I'm thinking, would be to get some Arbites. So then you could swap out the Imperial Navy Breachers, and all of a sudden you have 20 Arbites that you can do a boarding control with. Or another little bit of customization, maybe you decide to drop the Assassin for a boarding patrol and bring in, say, 3 Bulgrins, or even, mix it up. What you can do is you can get rid of the Assassin. Let's say you get rid of the 5 Voidsmen from the Striders, and you just swap in, let's say, some, Scions, or you decide to put in some Kasrkins. This boarding patrol is a perfect template that you can swap in units from the Astra Militarum, maybe even from the Space Marines, I suppose, but it would make more sense to keep it local to kind of the humans of the Imperium, and all of a sudden you can be fielding your own Inquisitorial force, your own Rogue Trader force, and doing the little boat boarding patrol missions. So in general, to reiterate, if you're looking to get a thematic force, 100% I'd recommend getting the boarding patrol for the Imperial Agents. Easy to swap out things, wait for the Arbites to come out in their own box. You could easily get 2 of those squads, swap out the Navy Breachers. There's so many possibilities, and it kind of leads into the second topic of this video, where I want to talk about how the Imperial Agents / forces of the Inquisition could potentially get their own codex in the future, and I suppose take things that are already in production that could be conscripted to this codex just to give it a bit more flavor, or small little things that could be added further down the line that would enhance the codex, and it doesn't require too much work for Games Workshop to make a very thematic and fun army to field. So how would we compile this codex, and what would we need? I think the first and foremost is we might as well start at the HQs and look at Inquisitors as a whole. Obviously, it would be pretty epic if they decided to make 2 new kits of both a female and a male Inquisitor. Plastic, and let it be kind of multi-pose, a variety of different heads, a variety of different weapons that kind of either follows the Ordos that are currently the Xenos, the Malleus, and the Hereticus. Imagine if you could get your own Inquisitor and either theme it for one of those 3, or maybe you decide to kind of mix and match between your own ideals for your own force. Now, of course, that would be ideal for them to, give us 2 new kits, but let's say for now you want to create your force and none of those kits are available. So what do you have available? From the boarding patrol, you have the Cartographer Rogue Trader. We should be able to use the rules of this new codex and decide which is going to be our Inquisitor. So you could easily say that this Rogue Trader is in fact an Inquisitor, or, depending on your force, is in fact a Rogue Trader. You do have Janus Drake from the Blackstone Fortress, which would be great that they would release him kind of in his own little blister pack, and we can use him either as his own character, or we could sub in for an Inquisitor. There's also Naam Shai Murad from the same Blackstone Fortress. So again, it would be great if we could get a blister pack of her, and all of a sudden we have 3 plastic models that we can, swap in and out for either a Rogue Trader or our personal, Inquisitor. Now, if you're feeling a bit more adventurous, you could head on over to Forge World and go over to the Necromunda section, and all of a sudden you have, under the hired guns, quite a few models that you could easily just bring on over and say that they're your Inquisitor or they're your Rogue Trader, and all of a sudden you have a nice, unique character that you can play and field on a battle. Now, rules-wise, let me know in the comment section below, but I was thinking if you were planning on making a Inquisitor that is for the Order Xenos, you should have a rule that because you're using an Order Xenos Inquisitor, you can then attach, let's say, a squad of Deathwatch. So if you were doing the Order Malleus, all of a sudden you can attach a squad of Grey Knights. And then of course for Hereticus, you can attach a squad of Sisters of Battle, so that when you're, following a thematic force of one of these Ordos, you're given the option to field an extra attachment, in a sense a reward that you are following the specific lore of the Order Xenos. So you've called in a 5-man 10-man squad of Deathwatch, but you can not have a full force of Deathwatch. Maybe if you wanted to have a full army of Deathwatch, you'd go to their codex, and then they have an option to field 1 Inquisitor, but no more of the forces of the Inquisition. Something that could, play in to both hands, where a player from either faction could sub in something just to give that little bit of flavor. It allows people to kind of jump into other forces. Maybe, they've never thought about owning a Sisters of Battle, but all of a sudden they're making an Inquisitor for the Ordo Hereticus, and all of a sudden they decide that, you know what, I think I might also make a bigger force for the Sisters of Battle. So not only can I sub it in, but I'm now, really interested, invested into this secondary force that I'm able to kind of dip in and out of. As I said earlier, let me know what you think in the comments. I think something like this would be definitely more flavoursome and give people the option, as I said, to dip in and out of other forces and have something that's, a bit more thematic than just one consistent army. Now, in terms of troops, I think the obvious is that we already have the Imperial Navy Breachers, and we will soon have the Arbites in their own separate kit. So it makes sense that these are kind of your baseline troops, but this is where I think they don't need to kind of give us a whole new kit. So what we do is we get the Cadian Shock Troops, and then they come out with, let's say, an inquisitorial upgrade frame. Gives you, different head options. Maybe it gives you an extra special weapon of sorts, a few little emblems. Maybe if we're thinking about the line of the way the Sisters of Battle kind of have those banners that they're holding up, and there's a whole little reliquary on top of it. Maybe something like that with the inquisitorial symbol. Something simple, something small, and you just combine an already existing kit, which is pretty brand new, pretty great sculpts, with a tiny bit of additions to kind of stand them out from the normal Astra Militarum. Overall, I definitely think the Astra Militarum will be able to bulk up this codex, use some of those same kits. As I said, maybe we can have some upgrade sprues to add a bit of flavor, but overall for your rogue traders, it makes sense that they can hire some Cadian shock troops or some Death Corps for Kriegs just to add to their force. Inquisitors can of course be able to take forces from all of the Imperium. So what I'm trying to say is that we don't need an entirely new range. We kind of have the foundations here, and with the addition of these new, more thematic forces, all it really takes is their desire to create a set of rules that we can use to make a more flavoursome Imperial force. So that's the Imperial Agents and the Force of the Inquisition. Hopefully my rambling has been a bit more coherent than I'm thinking it is, and it makes sense what I have on my mind. The Imperial Agents might not ever become their own full-fledged force, and they might just stay for boarding actions. So you can, swap in a few of these troops, and this is kind of all that we're going to get, which to be honest I don't particularly have a problem with, because I am going to be creating a few extra additions to swap in, as I said, the Arbites with the Navy Breachers, maybe put in a Bulgarin squad. We'll see how things go along, but it would be nice if we had the option for a full-sized army, but even if it is just for boarding actions, personally I would be okay with that. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. I'm sure there's people out there who might have some better ideas of how a Imperial Agent / Force of the Inquisition Codex could arrive further down the line. To reiterate from earlier on in the video, highly recommend that you get one of these boarding patrols. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and maybe give this video a like. As I said, join in the conversation below and we can chat about the Inquisition and what other heretical things we can think about. So until next time, take care folks.